but I'll be on it always, always and
Hi, welcome back to the Pink Chemist. So today we are going to go over mole to gram and gram to mole, all right? So we're just adding on to what we already did in our mole to mole ratio, okay? So to start off, we are going to use the balance equation below, all right? Now, if you're watching a previous video, you see that we started off by listing our given and our want. Now, our problem states calculate the number of grams of H2 produced by the reaction of 0.2 moles of N2. All right. So I see here that I was given 0.2 moles of N2. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. All right. Then I see that I was asked to find or calculate the number of grams, of H2. All right. So I got grams of H2. That is what I want. All right. Now I notice that I'm going to start with mole and I'm going to end with gram. Now, when that is the case, I am going to do the railroad track method. Okay. And here, when I do the railroad track, I know when I'm going from moles to grams that I'm going to have two railroad tracks. All right. So in my given, all right, I have 0.2 mole of N2, okay? I am going to always put that there in that box, in that first left-hand corner box. Then in the very last box, on the right top-hand corner, I am going to have grams of H2, all right? I got grams of H2 because that's what I want. Now, I have to set up the rest of my railroad tracks with the units that's going to allow for me to cancel out in order to be left with grams of H2 because that's what I want. So if I look at my units of my units of what was given, I have mole of N2 and I'm going to put my units in my element of my given in this box right here. Okay. Then in the numerator, I'm going to also have moles, but I'm going to have moles of H2. I'm going to use the mole of what I want. All right. Now, if I have moles of H2 in my numerator like that, that means that diagonally, I am going to have the moles of H2 in my denominator. That way, I am all set up to cancel out my like term units. Okay. Now I notice that I have here a mole to mole ratio. Do you see how I have mole in my numerator and I have mole in my denominator? That is letting me know I have a mole to mole ratio. And with that, I have to look at my coefficients in front of my compounds or my elements in order to find the numbers to plug in. So in front of H2, I have a coefficient of 3. So that is what I'm going to plug in here. And then for N2, I have the coefficient of 1. When there is no coefficient there, we know that it is just 1. Okay? All right. So now when I go to my last railroad track, I see that I have grams of H2. In order to find my number of grams, I have to find the molar mass. And I have to find the molar mass of the element that is behind the grams. Okay? So in order to do that, I am going to have H, and I have the subscript 2, okay? So I have 2 H's, and then I'm going to look at my periodic table and see that H has an atomic mass of 1, so it is going to be 2. So I have 2 grams of H2. Anytime I have grams over mole, do you see how I have grams in my numerator and moles in my denominator? My mole will always be 1, okay? Next, we're going to do the math, okay? So now I have to multiply my numerator and multiply my denominator and get the sum. So I am going to multiply 0.2 times 3 times 2, which gives me 1.2, all right? And then I have 1 times 1 in my denominator, which gives me 1. And so 1 divided by 1.2 is going to give me 1.2. And then lastly, I want to get my units. And in order to do that, I have to cancel out my like terms. So as you can see, I have mole of N2 twice, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel them out. And I have mole of H2 twice, so I'm going to cancel them out. Now, the only unit that I'm left with is grams of H2, which is also my want. That's what I wanted. I wanted grams of H2, and that's exactly what I got. Okay? Pretty easy. All right, let's move on to the next example, okay? So we have a balanced equation below, all right? And the problem states, given 68 grams of H2, how many moles of O2 are produced? All right, so I'm going to start again by listing my given and listing my want. I see that I was given 68 grams of O2. Oops, not O2. Sorry. 68 grams of H2. All right. And then I want the mole of O2. So now I see that I start with grams and then I'm ending with moles. So with that being the case, that means that I would have two railroad tracks. So in this first box, I am going to list my given, which is 68 grams of H2. Okay. In my very last box, I am going to put the mole of O2. Okay. Because that is what I want. Okay. That is what I want. Now, if I have grams of H2 as my given unit and element, I am going to put the same given unit and element in the box diagonal, in the denominator, okay? In the denominator. Now, above, I am going to write my number of moles. Okay? And I want to find mole of O2. Sorry, not the mole of O2. I want to have mole of H2. I want to have the mole of H2. All right. So with me having a mole of H2 here in my numerator, I want to have the mole of H2 here in my denominator. Okay. No, in my denominator. All right. Now I am going to plug in. Anytime I have moles over grams, my mole is going to be 1. Okay. And anytime that I have grams, I know that I have to find the molar mass of that element. Okay. And as we did previously, we see that H has 2 times 1, which is going to give me 2. So I got 2 grams. Now you notice that in this last box, I have mole over mole. So this is where my mole to mole ratio is going to come in. All right. So with it being my mole to mole ratio, my coefficient in front of O2 is 1. Okay. And then my coefficient in front of H2 is 2. All right. So now I have all my numbers plugged in. Now I am going to multiply, then divide. So I'm going to multiply 68 times 1 times 1, which is going to give me 68. So just notice that I multiply my numerator together, and now I'm going to multiply my denominator. So my denominator, I have 2 times 2, which is 4. So 68 divided by 4 is going to give me 17. Now, when I cancel out my like terms, I'm going to cancel out my grams of H2, my mole of H2, and I'm left with mole of O2. And that, my friend, is the answer. I wanted moles of O2. I found moles of O2. And that is how you go from grams to moles. See you in the next video.
Don't play with it, don't be dishonest. Ay, still not understand.